HR as a profession is kind of a new idea, to be honest. It's changed a great deal. You know, the words personnel, that was the typical word for many years. And really what it meant was the bare bones, basic operations of HR. It really meant hiring people, paying them salaries, trying not to break laws, you know, getting them out the door. That was the real basics, you know. And that's still important, but what organizations have learned over the years is that there's a whole other level to it, at a higher level, a strategic level that can have a much greater impact on the success of the organization. You know, one person can't run a whole company, you need a whole team. And that, for a large company, it's a huge team. And those folks, if they know what their jobs are, they know, you know, what they're supposed to be doing, and they're engaged, and they care, they work with a sense of passion, then you can have a really successful company. It has a huge impact. So when you plan ahead and HR is part of the process, you know, it really is a very important success factor for companies. So organizations have learned that, and you see CHROs at the same level as CFOs. So it really is a big change over the years. Well, certainly a lot of HR operations are still there, they're still important, but as the technology has improved, there's less paper, you know, that the administration is still there, but I believe it's getting to be less and less as the systems improve. So, as in anything, there's more and more of a value at the higher levels. You know, people who can come into the job and understand what the business is really doing and what are the real business issues, understanding that side, understanding, you know, what are the real risks to our organization's success. Oftentimes, it's the people side, and that is something that has been really, you know, not looked at enough over the years. So, what happens if your key people leave? What happens if there's an issue and you are actually growing, you have opportunities, but you don't have people to really move to those new locations? Do you have the people in place to really grow? More and more organizations, especially in Asia, are finding that the limiting factor, holding back their growth, it's not external, it's internal. It's having the right people. You know, there's a wide range of people in the HR profession at all levels, and it's very diverse, you know, because there are people who are very good in analytical areas, and they may be in comp and ben or HR systems or HR process. That's important. You have people who are really involved in OD or talent management areas, and then you have people who are really on the business partner side. Now, in the best situations, everyone understands what is important for the business to succeed. So, a business acumen, understanding what the numbers mean, understanding what the indicators mean, and caring about them, that's really, really key. Because the leaders of the organization who have accountability for the business to succeed, they want to feel that you're in it as partners. In reality, leaders really do want that. And I've found that, you know, top leaders in organizations are actually pretty open these days, more and more open to an HR leader coming in and giving them advice and support. But before they will trust you, you have to show that you understand what's going on in the business, and then you have an opportunity to have an impact.
Right.
Otherwise, they won't have much patience for you, I think, if you just come as an HR voice. You have to be a business voice. Well, you know, I got into HR at a young age, and I just, like many people, kind of fell into it. I was in a role, it expanded, I got a promotion, a new role. And as that, you know, as that goes, it's just basically you learn as you go, and it's very reactive. You learn what your boss values, or your new boss values, and you start to understand, you know, when you did a good job, and you learn from your mistakes, luckily, I mean, hopefully you have a good manager, and you can have some good mentors. But I realized that I needed to broaden my understanding, broaden my exposure, because if you just work for one company, or two companies, or three companies, you only are exposed to that. So getting the credential really did help me to understand issues that come up in other industries, in smaller companies, in larger companies, and in fact international issues, because I came from the US, but I actually learned about issues that can come up outside all over the world through this practice. So understanding really what our best practice is was really important for me. Now, SHRM has made an important move, definitely, over the past year. They've realized that, you know, the world's changing and the HR profession's changing, and in fact, to be ahead of the curve, they wanted to understand what are really successful, what is really important for successful HR leaders. What is really important for them? It's not just knowledge, it's behaviors and competencies. So that is the major driver behind this change, and now we have the SCP credential, which is something brand new. It's very valuable, and I think it's a very good idea, because it really gets to the core of what is it that helps a leader be a successful HR professional. It's not just knowing a lot of things. It's how you deal with issues. It's how you partner with the leaders of the organization. It's how you handle ambiguity and change. These are the types of things that came up out of SHRM's research over the past years and have been validated through more research, and it's been embedded into the exam, and it's part of the body of knowledge. So this is really a step forward, because it gets to really, if you can go through this process and you can successfully get the credential, it really is an indication that you have some key competencies that can show that you're ready to succeed in HR. Definitely very valuable. Going through the process to learn and take the exam for the SCP is very, very valuable. You learn a lot about, you know, in some ways it's the ideal, it's the academic issues, and then you have some baseline to pull from when you're in the real life, when you're at your real job dealing with real life issues. Obviously nothing's perfect. Obviously you can never implement things perfectly. There's all these types of obstacles or challenging, nuanced situations, but you have an idea. And when you are sitting down talking to a business leader, you explain how things should work, how things can work. Maybe you can't get it there right now, but you can get their trust, because you can explain with authority and conviction that you understand what is the right process, what does this program look like, what generally works, and then if you can pull data as well, that's even better. You know, I think there is value in many different ways. You can certainly get a lot of value out of an MBA or a Master's of HR or a credential like the SCP. Definitely, they're all valuable. Now, for me, I can say I thought it was more relevant and more focused to take the credential, because it's really up to date. They have a process every year engaging global leaders, HR leaders from many industries all over the world, and also business executives, to help them refine the body of knowledge every year. So it's up to date, especially over the past year, as they've made real improvements in building HR competencies into the credential. I really believe that, you know, while others may follow suit, I think as of right now, the SCP is a valuable, up-to-date credential, and it's very valuable to understand yourself and understand what's going on in the HR world. Well, you know, I think the world's changing a lot. You know, things are moving very quickly, more and more quickly these days with, you know, changes of technology, economics. So we have to really move quickly too. Now, I wouldn't be in HR if I didn't believe that there's a win-win situation where if you have an engaged workforce, an engaged and happy workforce, that they will do better for their employers, and the employer will also win. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be in HR. And this is a realization that has come and grown over the past 15 years, I believe, in the world. Now, as an HR professional dealing with the challenges of a business, it's really, really key to help your leaders, your partners, understand these issues. Understand that your salary cost is very often the largest or one of the largest expenses that you pay out every month. So if you think about that as a portfolio, you want it to perform to its greatest, right? So how to do that? If you have a payroll of 10 people or 1,000 people, you can think about all of them giving just a tiny bit more effort during their day, caring a tiny bit more. And if you multiply that across 1,000, a workforce, it has a huge multiplier effect. So being able to understand that is a starting point, and to help your business leaders understand how much potential there is in building an engaged workforce. Now, to make that happen is really the tough part, because everyone's different, humans are not robots, and dealing with real people is very, very complicated and complex. Now, if you have a psychology background or you know, dealing with people, you know, maybe you have more tools, but at the end of the day, we're all just making sense of complicated systems of people. And there's research that helps us do this. So the whole body of research around organizational performance and personal engagement, this comes into the question here. And employers are surveying their people, and they're using that data in very smart ways to understand in different populations what is driving performance, what is driving engagement, what is driving employee happiness, and what is driving, you know, retention. So in some ways, for some populations, we find that this really requires new ways of management. It requires more creative workplaces. For Gen Y millennials, generally, we find that they really do value flexibility in how they work. They will work very hard, but they don't want someone to be supervising them every minute. So there's a real opportunity for businesses to take advantage of these things, and then if they know it, then they can really attract the candidates that they want, the top talent, maybe paying them the same, but these little tweaks in the business offering, they can really bring in more people that they really want. They have a bigger pool. Right. Yeah. And then they'll be working more hard and more successfully for everyone.